Welcome back to the Celtics Nation Rise podcast, episode 65, presented by Celtics Talk Weekly. I'm your host, Griffin Aldrich. Alongside me, we have our two co-hosts, Seamus Zarlingo and David Caires. I don't know why I blanked on your last name for a second. I was like, hold on. I don't know why.
So you're good.
Every time. Either I mess up it, like I mess up spelling it, or can't say it for a second. That's my bad, David.
Oh, that was perfect today. We picked up right where we left off, so you're all good.
We did. So, welcome back to another episode. And I tell you what, Seamus, last podcast we were talking about how at this time there's nothing to talk about. However, that has changed. That has changed a lot. And I tell you what, yesterday, was it yesterday? No, 2 days ago, when all these transactions went down, they were very short because I'm like, all right, there's not too much to say. Now, today there is. We're going to go more in depth about it. And don't worry, you guys, you get your jersey tier list at the end. So we can't forget that. That's going to be going down. But when I was talking about it, I'm like, it's very cut forward. You look at the trades and it's like, all right, shedding salary, and basically that's majority of kind of really what it was. It was a salary technique. You moved off of Niang and you've got Chris Boucher, and you look at that and it's just cutting salary. But we have a lot more. And I needed Seamus and David for this because we need more takes on this too, because I was sitting there with the breaking news and I'm like, geez, it's really just straightforward. We're just really honestly cutting salary. But welcome back again, you guys. It's been a long week. I know we will be bringing back the fan series again. If you guys want to be a part of it, hit me up in the comments down below or on Instagram. We'll get you guys on. We're going to figure that out. And this is the time for it. But how are you guys doing? Seamus, what are your thoughts? And how's it been going, you guys? So let's take it away. How's it going, you guys?
I'm going to get spicy right away. First of all, David, I hope you're doing well today because I'm going to lead this off with something spicy. All right. I'm doing okay, Griffin. First of all, I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay before I give this. I'm tired of the Boston Celtics lying to us. Okay. I'm tired of the Celtics lying to us, and specifically Brad Stevens. All right. And I understand Brad Stevens is just doing his job. But if anybody remembers at the beginning of July at Brad Stevens' presser, Brad Stevens was going on about prioritizing basketball assets and not prioritizing the luxury tax line. And we really like Niang and we're glad he's here. Where's all that conversation now? Where's all that conversation? Niang is shipped off for nobody, right? RJ Lewis Jr. Got to give him some respect. He will own somewhat of a chance to make a roster spot. He's a two-way player, right? He's technically signed to the roster right now, RJ Lewis. Got to give some respect to him, but the whole point of that trade was the Celtics trading away Niang and his $8.2 million for a non-guaranteed contract in which they could waive later on in time without putting any dead money on their books. The Celtics could have had both Niang and Boucher, but they would have needed to add salary, as we know, to their books, and they weren't willing to do that. And therefore, the Celtics cut bait with Niang. They save $8.2 million. They bring in Boucher for 3.3. They save about a net worth of $5 million, right? But what happened to all the conversation about Brad prioritizing basketball assets and, we really like Niang? A trade like that, you could have had Boucher and Niang. The other night, I incorrectly said, well, this is kind of like trading Boucher, or rather trading Niang for Boucher. But It really didn't need to be like that for the Celtics. Okay? It didn't need to be like that. And that's why I say incorrectly said that, because yes, that's how the subsequent transactions went about. But the Celtics could have had both players. Instead, they don't, because they were so concerned about getting under the luxury tax line, in which they're $12 to $13 million away from. Not just that, they're cutting luxury tax, the bill. I mean, it went down nearly $43 million with that Niang trade, which I understand, but don't tell us you're prioritizing basketball assets, Brad. Don't tell us this when you're clearly not. Okay, because if you were, Niang would be on the roster. Okay, he'd be on the roster and we'd see how this thing plays out with Niang. Instead, he's with the Utah Jazz. And I said on Instagram yesterday, These are how fortunes change. Those types of trades, right? Where the Utah Jazz, they're at the bottom of the standings. They have no salary cap whatsoever. And they benefit from that by adding in legitimate roster talent from the Celtics by giving away nothing, right? The Utah Jazz gave away RJ Lewis Jr., a two-way player, for a legitimate rotation piece in Georges Niang. Meanwhile, the Celtics give away a legitimate rotation piece in Niang and make the signing afterwards to make it seem, oh, Boucher, oh, we've replaced Niang with Boucher. That's not how it needed to be. We could have had Niang and Boucher. Boucher was a free agent signing. The Celtics could have still inked Boucher to a minimum contract, right? Without Boucher, or rather without Niang, without that trade happening, or not. Yet the Celtics decided to cut bait with Niang because of his salary. They get rid of a legitimate rotation piece. The Jazz add a rotation piece. The Celtics get rid of a rotation piece. And that's just the story of the the ebbs and flows of the NBA, where the Utah Jazz, they're adding to the rotation because of their time on the bottom and their salary space. Meanwhile, the Celtics are taking away from their rotation because of their time at the top and their overspending. That's where we're at with the Celtics right now. And I got to say, Griffin, to answer your question, I'm doing okay today, but I'm tired of the Boston Celtics lying to us at the press conferences. And I'm not going to say it's just Brad Stevens because I know he's doing his job and I know it's through the corporate lens. It's through the corporate filtration system of say this, don't say anything that's going to jeopardize our ticket sales next year, right? But that's ultimately at those press conferences. Very disingenuous to the fans at the end of the day. Very just disingenuous to the fans, I have to say.
Yeah, but what about you, David? How are you doing today?
Well, thanks for having me on. I know it's been a little bit of a hiatus again for me coming on this podcast, but I'm doing okay. I guess some news is always something to be intrigued by with the Celtics, especially when it comes to being at this point in the calendar year in August. You know, we have a bit of a dry spell around the NBA when it comes to anything substantial happening, and it was nice, seeing some notifications with Celtics related news a few days ago regarding this Niang trade, and then about 10 minutes later with the Boucher signing. Um, I'm honestly a little bit disappointed that the trade happened. I think for me personally, if you told me that we basically, like you summarized earlier, Seamus traded Niang for Boucher, I like the upside with that, and I'm more excited if you were to ask me which player I'd be more excited to see between the two, between Niang and Boucher. It's got to be Boucher. I've always admired him from afar from his 7 seasons with Toronto. He pretty much leads that franchise, or is leaving that franchise as the all-time leader for most of the categories coming off the bench. But there's a little bit of bias for me because I am from the same area that Georges Niang grew up in, the Merrimack Valley. I would have loved to have seen one of us, make it to play for the Celtics, the team that he grew up rooting for, I'm assuming. So that was a little bit disappointing. And there was all this talk about, will Celtics fans start to come around on Niang? Because I think when we first traded for him, everyone's like, God, no, anyone but Niang, because of what happened a couple years ago with Jaylen Brown in the Game 7 against Philly when he grabbed his leg from the bench. But yeah, I think fans were starting to come around a little bit more on Niang the last few weeks. Like we saw them both interact at that WNBA game. Niang and JB, they had a good moment there. Niang was pretty self-aware about how he feels like he went on that podcast and said that Celtics fans got their unicorn taken away from them, and instead they got stuck with the minivan. I think like fans in Boston were starting to become like, he was becoming likable to fans in Boston because of his self-awareness regarding his situation. So I'm going to be honest, I was kind of hoping to see that pan out, but I guess that'll be a crazy what if in NBA history down the line, Georges Niang's time with the Celtics. But the trade is what it is for me. We get 2 second-round picks, which, second-round picks in the NBA market these days are becoming increasingly more valuable. It'll be interesting to see how those come into play down the line. Basically, it seems like we're just getting the 2 second-round picks that we thought we'd be getting in that Drew Holiday trade for Simons that we're just now getting in this trade with the Jazz. So we're recouping some future assets regarding that. I don't know too much about R.J. Lewis. I mean, it is interesting to me that he has some Massachusetts ties. He spent some time at UMass as well as St. John's for his college. He's a bigger guard. He's a 6'7" guard. I'm just looking at the press release the Celtics put out. He averaged 18 points, little over 18 points, a little over 7 rebounds and 2 assists last year. Started 32 games for St. John's. Was named Big East Player of the Year. So there's potential there. I mean, I wouldn't might get some minutes at the end of the bench. This might just be another project player for the Celtics, but we'll have to see how that pans out. And I mean, you can't go wrong with the Boucher signing. I thought that was a great move. I think it's a low risk, high reward move. Obviously, with it being close to the minimum salary, Boucher is probably going to start for us next year, so that's a great opportunity for him to prove what he can do in a consistent starting role. So, yeah, I mean, some decent news for the Celtics, I guess, this week regarding all that. Obviously, Seamus, you touched on it too. We've cut down, I also have it here, in almost 2 months, we've cut down 56% of our finances as of June 15th. Our salary and luxury tax is at $540 million. As of right now, it's right around $239 million, $240 million. So we knew that was going to be the name of the game for the Celtics this offseason. So, yeah, it's just we're trying to do more with less, I guess, or just try and be competitive with less. And I'm just interested to see how the pieces fold out or lay out come October 22nd or whenever the season starts. And I think the last big domino we're waiting to see potentially fall this summer is Anthony Simons. Is Anthony Simons going to be a Celtic come opening night? Because he's been pretty mute about the trade himself. I don't think the Celtics have done an official presser regarding that. So will he be on the team? What will his role be? Because there's even like discourse. Will he be coming off the bench if he stays with us? Is Peyton Pritchard going to finally get elevated? These are all my questions that I'm just waiting to see get answered as the season comes around, because I don't think it's as clear cut as these rotations that everyone is putting out on social media, where it's like Caires the starter for some, or Luka Garza's the starter for some, or the backcourt's going to be Simons and White. Some people think it's going to be Pritchard and White. Joe Mazzulla doesn't necessarily have a track record for conforming to what people on social media think the lineup is going to be. I think we all thought when he first came into the role that it was going to be a double big lineup, even though Robert Williams is hurt to start that season. And it was Derek White, Smart, Brown, Tatum, and Horford. And then, Mazzulla got bullied and going back to double bigs in that playoff run, and White went to the bench. But these are just the questions that are going through my head at this point in the offseason where we have nothing else to think about. So I'm just interested to see if there's any more moves to be made, more specifically with Simons, and what the rotations are going to look like.
Simons is on high alert right now, right after this Niang trade, because the last couple of weeks I was sitting there thinking, the Celtics, they turned something into something less with the Simons and Niang trades, going from Drew and KP to Simons and Niang. The Celtics turned something into something less. But then with the Niang trade, the Celtics turned something less into absolutely nothing. And I hate to be that disrespectful to RJ Lewis Jr., but that's just the case. I mean, RJ Lewis was just a random player the Celtics acquired. It could have been any player. It could have been any two-way player out there in which was available to the Celtics from a team who was willing to take on Niang's contract. And that's what happened. But we look at the Niang trade, right? And I was sitting there the last couple of weeks thinking, well, the Celtics, they did get something from the KP and Drew deals, right? They did get something. Are they really going to trade away Simons and Niang? They're over for their careers. They're nearly 40% 3-point shooters. Niang, there's a little bit of grit there. Simons, he's still 26. He's still developing, and in some respect, he doesn't have that much development yet left, but there is some development to be had there in Simons's game. And I'm looking at both players going, I could see both of these players slotting into the rotation as talents that are maybe shipped away in time or even utilized within the rotation to compete once again when Jason Tatum comes back into the lineup in likely October of 2026. But considering the Celtics went ahead and sold KP, sold Drew Holiday, why wouldn't the Celtics sell Anthony Simons? Why wouldn't they sell Niang? And part of the conversation again, the reason why they wouldn't is they're getting at least something out of those players. But looking at Porzingis and Holiday, they're immortalized in Celtics Nation as champions. They were huge pillars on that championship team. The Celtics and Brad Stevens, the front office, they were comfortable selling those guys. Now, when I say the word comfortable, that's to be debated, but they were at least willing, and they did trade away those guys for lesser salaried players. And that brings me now looking at this Niang trade, right? Brings me to the fact of, or rather the prospect of, the Celtics not caring about Anthony Simons or Georges Niang, right? If they didn't care about Porzingis and Holiday, and if the Celtics did not care to sell Porzingis or Holiday, why would they care about selling Simons or Niang? Again, part of the argument is at least there's something, right? And not nothing. There's something and not nothing. But at the same time, I do look at it and go, Simons and Niang, they're not as special as Porzingis and Holiday. If Porzingis and Holiday, if the Celtics are getting rid of them because of salary purposes, why wouldn't they get rid of Simons and Niang for salary purposes? So you have that. Obviously Niang and Simons, they're different caliber players. Simons is a lot better of a player than Niang, which definitely skews the conversation between those players a little bit. Niang was the more sellable player, right, than Simons, especially considering the contract and the actual value on court. But Simons is on high alert right now. He is the tsunami warnings after an earthquake, right? The Niang trade is an earthquake where you go, there's that earthquake. Now we're sending out tsunami warnings for Anthony Simons because we don't know what's coming next from that initial deal. And I say that because of the reasons I just mentioned with Simons and Niang, they're not as valuable as KP and Drew, who the Celtics already sold. The Celtics would be comfortable with selling Simons and Niang for the right price as well. They already sold one of them. But furthermore, from that point, David, you already mentioned it. No introductory press conference for Anthony Simons yet. No, Simons is wearing this number. No appearances at Summer League or the WNBA games, or at least Niang. There was some level of speculation. Okay, he's appearing at these games. There's this, that. He didn't receive a press conference, right? But there was something that Noah Dalzell said while covering the Niang trade the other day. She mentioned at Summer League, Niang was there, Minot was there, Garza was there. Garza and Minot, both the free agent signings, they received media time. They were made available to the media, whereas Niang, he was not made available to the media that day at Summer League when all three of them were there and everybody was at Summer League. That was a telltale sign of what was to come for Niang, as we see. Now Anthony Simons with no press conference, with no release of any, we haven't seen Simons at all. Look, we have not heard or seen Simons at all. We haven't heard from him or seen him at all. Since the trade's gone down, we don't know what jersey number he's wearing. We don't know what he thinks of the trade. We haven't heard from him. We haven't seen him in the Celtics facility. We haven't even seen, normally, right? At least, at the very least, we see, look, a player's wearing a practice jersey, or he's wearing the Celtics logo, or he shows up at the practice facility, or he's like we saw with Niang out at a WNBA game, out at Summer League, right? We usually see these players out and about, and there's some level of an intro with each player going to a new franchise, right? We haven't seen that with Simons at all yet. I'm sorry, it's August 7th. Happy birthday, Grandma, by the way. August 7th. Happy birthday. But it's August 7th, and we haven't, this is not normal. I'm sorry. Years and years. This will be my 10th season covering the Celtics game by game. This never happens, all right? Unless they're on high alert to be moved elsewhere, which is where I think we are with Anthony Simons right now.
No, I agree 100% because you haven't even, like you said, Seamus, haven't even seen him in Celtics gear. This is, and David, you said that point, and it's so true about how he hasn't even had a press conference. So it's like, is he even going to be a Celtic come opening night? And go check out episode 64 after this episode is over, because we talked about potential trades for Simon.
Hopefully it's on autoplay.
Yeah, just You know,
Let the autoplay go. Come on.
You gotta hear that though, because we did some of those trades. But you look at this, and it's kind of just like the whole trade was a big question mark for me, and it makes you look back at the Porzingis trade, and it's like, and I think you said this, Seamus. You were like, could we potentially see the Celtics giving up picks to offload Porzingis' salary? And essentially, that's what you did, because you got
They
that.
just gave away picks to offload Niang.
You did. So you gave up Porzingis, you get Georges Niang, and then you have Niang, and then you trade him with 2 future second-round picks for R.J. Lewis Jr., who, again, is undrafted. You could have picked him up in Max Shulga's spot. You could have picked him up in Amari Williams' spot. If you were so high on him, you could have picked him up in the draft. However, you just got a guy that went undrafted for Porzingis. That's essentially what you traded Porzingis for, an undrafted player. And that just means that the whole time they were just trying to offload his salary. That's essentially what it is. I mean, you just got an undrafted player for Porzingis, which baffles me, because for Porzingis, you traded Marcus Smart, and who else did you give up for him? I feel like some picks in there, but you did not. It baffles me at the end of the day. And obviously you had to, like, going into this offseason, we knew that there was going to be no Tatum. We knew that you look at this and you're like, all right, this team, maybe if they won the championship, or maybe if Tatum never got injured, you could see this team running it back one more year and seeing if they could potentially get there, maybe adding on like a piece like they should have with Lonnie Walker. That's a story for another time. But you could have seen them making little moves and subtly doing subtle changes to build up the roster to be competitive next year. However, Tatum's gone with the Achilles tear, and you look at this and you're like, all right, well, now we're still over the second apron. Al Horford's a free agent. Luke Cornett's a free agent. You look at that and you're like, all right, there's problems there. So then Brad, ever since the Achilles tear with Tatum, Brad's whole mindset had to change, because I'm assuming this, I could be completely wrong. The whole plan could have been to blow it up this year anyways. That totally could have been the case. However,
that's what they also want us to believe, by the way, which is not true, but they want us to believe that. And it's part of the press conference lies, right? Where they go, well, and it's not a lie, technically. I don't want to call it a lie, because lying would just be an untruthful statement. But because they say, oh, well, we don't know, right? Oh, we don't know, Tatum injured or not. But Tatum tearing his Achilles changed the entire summer, because
it like
the Celtics just traded Porzingis for nothing, right? The asset overturn was for nothing. Maybe if Tatum is still on the roster, that asset overturn is for something.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe Niang's still on the roster because you're considering, okay, he can contribute to the rotation next year on a winning team with Tatum in the lineup. With Tatum not in the lineup, the Celtics, that's what everybody doesn't. I mean, the fans are talking about it. The soft tank is happening. Okay.
I'm going
look at it. I mean, look at the summer.
I say this. If Tatum's still in the lineup, I feel like instead of Brooklyn being added to that trade with Porzingis, you're obtaining Terrence Mann as well. I look at that.
Terrence Mann is one of the worst contracts in the league.
But I look at this, though. I'm saying this, though. If Tatum's still in the lineup, I don't even think you entertain that trade. I feel like there's different trades that you go after and you bring in a player to make it winning. You look at these, obviously.
Right. That's what I'm saying. The scale of the teardown is not this drastic if Tatum doesn't tear his Achilles. And they're keeping a competitive team together. They're not. This is a teardown when you're trading. I mean, Holiday and Porzingis essentially turned into Anthony Simons. No first round picks, nothing like that. Just Anthony Simons. That is a full teardown. I mean, you think about all the other free agents too. Cornette, Al Horford, and I mean, we know the story.
No, but the thing is, you knew ultimately, like Brad Stevens, I'm sure obviously you don't spend a lot of time on it, but he was planning next season. All right, we're probably going to do this and this and that. But when Tatum goes down with that Achilles tear, it all changed. It's like, all right, Porzingis, we thought that Porzingis, all right, there's a chance he could go, probably likely so. But as of right now, I feel like maybe we could run it back, maybe have some assets on the team. But when Tatum went down. Porzingis, you're gone. Drew Holiday, you're gone. And there's a lot of faces that it's like, all right, time to change the team. But I look at this with Niang. I really look at this, and I was against Niang at first, and you guys knew my thoughts. I obviously it was the whole, all right, you have to get under the second apron, like that's what you have to do, da da da. But you guys really turned me on Niang because again, and I think remember Seamus, we were on for that draft podcast, and we were all upset about this. But then,
well, now I mean, I was a little shocked, but I'm not sitting there going.
We got hit by it. We got hit though. We got hit by it. It was in shock. But Coach,
I'm somebody where I look at every transaction, I go, fine, we're gonna win with this player.
No, yeah, but then
just fine. Let's go.
But Coach AJ was like, all right, now you're getting the minivan. He's from Boston, and I was like, all right, we're changing it up. But again, it's the player that you don't want to face. You don't want to face a Niang. Like, this is a guy who is like a Draymond Green that could, and I look at that. That's a perfect player to come off the bench. Like, this could have been a player where he has time, he gets adjusted to Boston, and then once Tatum comes back, I would not mind having Georges Niang come off our bench. I would not mind that at all. However, you saw the trade go down, and it's like, all right, good riddance, thank you. Like it, and for me, and I said this, and you guys might not agree with this, but for me, it was honestly like the Gallinari signing for Boston because
that's immediately what I thought of. I'm going the biggest what ifs in Celtics history. I mean, it's Gallinari and Niang. What if they would have? What would they have looked like if they played one game with the Celtics?
But it's in different form because obviously Gallinari, he got injured. So when he was injured, they're like, all right, we're just gonna use him and offload him. But then with Niang, again, Gallinari grew up a Celtics fan. Niang grew up in Boston, was likely a Celtics fan. And then the thing that you see too is I already saw that the Utah Jazz posted him and said, welcome to Boston. And he's already loving it because, again, the amount of hate that he got here and the amount of Celtics fans that are throwing parties right now. And I have to admit, I will say this, shame on Celtics fans that are posting. Now, not shame on you because I get it. You guys did not like Niang, and posting on your story. Yeah, get off my team. Heck yeah. But the thing is,
no, you can cast shame. Come on, don't bring it back. Don't go shame on you and go not shame. No, it's shame.
No, because
there should have been a player that people looked at and went, fine, we'll compete with this guy. We'll love this guy. We're gonna accept him into Celtic Nation. And instead, to me, I didn't see that in Laker Nation when Marcus Smart joined the team. Now, there wasn't as much of a rivalry there, but the hatred right off the bat wasn't a good look for the fan base. Just saying, because part of the appeal to Boston is, you're gonna go to Boston, and the winning there is just gonna be different. The fan base is gonna be different. The minute Niang gets to Boston, now he understands the fan base is different, and he has a little bit of a prior knowledge to himself, being from the Massachusetts area, being from the New England area, being from Massachusetts rather. Yet he comes in and he's notoriously hated for events in the past, but the minute Niang was traded to the Celtics, I'm looking at him going, there's the grit. Okay, there's the grit the Celtics were missing. That's what I'm bummed about when it comes to the Niang trade and shipping him out for nothing. That's what I'm bummed about. I was looking forward to Niang bringing some grit to this Celtics squad that was otherwise lacking the last two seasons, even the championship year. I mean, I thought that was just a breeze of a season because of how good the team was. The team definitely lacked a little bit of that grit the last 2 years. We saw with guys like Marcus Smart on the roster, Robert Williams as well. I mean, gritty players who really brought the personality of the city to the team. That's not necessarily what we saw the last two seasons all the time, every game. And that's what Niang was going to bring to the lineup. Instead, he's not. And furthermore, fans never saw that vision, which is very odd to me.
Well, even you said, though, David, this was a guy that you looked at and he was from where you grew up. Were you excited to see him play there? Because a lot of fans, and I will say this, I'm going to go too far as to say this, that a lot of fans, I backed up Niang a lot because I would see him. I saw on several stories too, like whether it be Snapchat, whether it be Instagram, I saw people say, get the fuck off my team. And I was like, no, don't say that. And this is one text message. I went on a rant. This could have been a full podcast of me ranting, but I was like, look, Niang, I get it. I know you miss Porzingis. I miss Porzingis. I was one of Porzingis' biggest fans here. I loved him ever since he came in. But I was like, he was injury prone. You had to get off of him. You bring in Niang. This is a guy who's like a Draymond Green type player, and you hate to play against him, but Warriors fans love Draymond Green. Maybe they don't love what he did to Jordan Poole, but they love Draymond Green. You loved Grant when he was on your team. You loved Marcus Smart when he was on your team. You're going to love this player because he's one of those players that's aggressive and he's from Mass. But David, tell me, like, he was from Mass. So you must have, like, you're one of the people, were you like, when he first got traded to Boston, were you like, all right, I'm already on Niang? Or did it take some, getting used to? Or how are you with the whole situation?
Yeah, so it's funny. I actually think I talked about this the last time I was on the podcast, but I'll give my answer again. When the trade first happened, I think we all knew the Porzingis and Holiday dominoes were falling, and we just knew that domino was coming any moment. So it's like, all right, we know this notification is coming. So I see the notification pop up on my phone, and I'm like, oh, Porzingis is involved in a trade where the Celtics are acquiring Georges Niang. Okay, like, this is one of those journeyman players I've been following, like, with his time with Cleveland, with his time previously with Utah. Got traded halfway through last season with Atlanta. And I knew he was from the area. So I'm like, oh, this is all pretty cool. Go on, like, the Twitter post where it just announces the trade. And I mean, let's be honest, Celtics Twitter is one of the more toxic communities there is. And I was just scrolling through and everything's like, it's WTF, WTF, WTF. Brad, what are you doing? Brad, what are you doing? This is ridiculous. Like, get this guy the F off my team, like you just said, Griffin. And for me, the thing that immediately popped in my head is, why the heck does everyone hate this guy? What did he do? Then it clicked to my head, and I can't believe I forgot about this because I was at that game when that happened. I was actually fortunate enough to be at Game 7 against Philly when Georges Niang pulled Jaylen Brown's leg. And funnily enough, where I was sitting at that game, I got a great view of that happening. And I remember not even watching that play because they went up the court that play. I just remember focusing on that and seeing Georges Niang grab Jaylen Brown's leg, and then Jaylen Brown just staring at him on the bench and, like, causing a stoppage in play. Then it clicked to my head, oh, that's why all the Celtics fans hate him because, Celtics fans don't necessarily forgive, but they definitely do not forget. That's what I've found. I.e. Kyrie Irving. Anyways, so that whole thing happened, and I was pretty lukewarm on it. I wasn't as, like, toxic or, like, negative about it. I'm just like, this gives us something we haven't had in a few years. Griffin, I think you hit the nail on the head with the comparison. Like, I'd compare a Georges Niang and his mentality. It's like kind of like a cross between a Grant Williams and a Marcus Smart, to be honest.
Yeah.
A guy that plays a little bit of an edge. Maybe talks too big of a game given what he can put up on the stat sheet, but a guy that, is willing to go to die for the city. And, like, I always liked his ability to give it back to the fans because I'll tell another story here, too. I went to the game last year against Cleveland. It was the play-in game where we gave Cleveland their first loss after starting 15-0. And Georges Niang, I think in the fourth quarter of that game, hit a 3 to draw the Cavs within a decent draw them within 5 or whatever and get them closer to coming back against the Celtics because we had a big lead in that game. And Celtics called a timeout, and there were fans screaming at Georges Niang in the front few rows. Hopefully they weren't saying anything inappropriate or, just disgusting. But Georges Niang was screaming right back at them as he was going back to the Cavaliers bench. So, like, I was excited. Again, I hope they weren't saying anything awful, but I was excited to see that fire come back to Boston because, like, I don't want to sound too outdated or too much like, one of these old school NBA fans who say, like, the Celtics don't have any grit or, like, they don't have that killer instinct. We didn't need it when we were winning. Like, we were just so dominant, and we'd finally gotten over those mental humps the last few years. Like, we didn't need to, engage with people in game. We just need to put our head down and let our games do the talking. That's when the Celtics were at their best. Now, since the tides have shifted and, like, we don't have as much star power, I was kind of excited to see if we could get a little bit more gritty and, down and dirty and use that to get us an edge in these games. So, yeah, in that regard, I am going to be missing Niang. I think, again, back to my original point earlier where it seems like fans were just finally getting on board with him. You know, him and JB were talking at that Indiana Fever, Connecticut Sun game at the Garden. They took that photo. I saw so many comments under that photo saying, if JB forgives him, I forgive him. And, like, it finally seemed like I thought Georges Niang was about to become a fan favorite. And it's going to be one of those what ifs, like you said, Seamus. But, yeah, I wish we could have seen that play out. And, like, you know, I think he was already on his way to winning the fans over. It would have been great to see that play out. But again, with the bias too on my end of him being from the Merrimack Valley, me being in the Merrimack Valley, would have been nice to be able to root for him just for that. But yeah, I guess we'll never know.
Well, I have to say too, it's the fact that fans were forgiving Niang too, and then the second he's traded, I just see all the backlash come back. Bye Niang, good riddance, da da da. Like, come on. But Seamus, if people don't even know what went on, I don't. You guys are living under a rock, for one. For two, go check out the breaking news videos on Celtics Nation Rise and go watch the CTW live after this, of course. But Seamus, if you wanted to pull up the tweets really quick.
Well, of course, we should have led with these, but
yeah,
we should have led with these, but these were the two official bits of news here for, again, if anybody hasn't heard this yet, but the Boston Celtics are trading Georges Niang and 2 future second-round picks to the Utah Jazz for rookie R.J. Lewis Jr. Sources tell ESPN. This comes from Shams Charania. And R.J. Lewis Jr., his name is actually Reggie Lewis Jr., obviously no affiliation with the late, great Reggie Lewis from the 90s, but still a Reggie Lewis now on the Boston Celtics again. And this is the other bit of news. Per Shams Charania, free agent forward Chris Boucher has agreed to a 1-year, $3.3 million contract with the Boston Celtics. Agent Sam Permut of Rock Nation tells ESPN. Boucher lands a guaranteed deal with the Celtics and is expected to have a significant role in the front court. That is going to be for certain. And I do want to bring up one more thing here, Griffin. This might be a little bit of a surprise to you here, but you were comparing yourself to Niang. Okay, on draft night. This comes from draft night. I'm just saying, folks, who's in better shape? Is it Niang or is it Griffin?
And Seamus, that my head looks like. Did you?
It looks a little weird. Here's why.
What
the image, the original image, the face of you right now, is not the same face that was on this photo. All right, I didn't use AI. This is my own talent. Okay, this is my own talent. I didn't use AI. It looks very AI right now, but that's your body, Griffin, and that's your face. But I'll say this: your body, that's your body on draft night, and your face, that might be your face from July or whenever. I'll just say the face and the body don't exactly match, because when I went to edit your body, your face on the camera, you can't really see your face. I mean, I think this looks a little odd, but it certainly looks a little better than what it originally looked like. But here's you and Niang side by side. I would say you have somewhat of a case against Niang here, but let's also throw this back, right, Griffin? I mean, you on draft night, I would say you weren't exactly ecstatic about Georges Niang. I mean, you were, and that was part of the. I'll bring this up too, because David, you mentioned Celtic Nation hates Niang because of the whole JB incident with the Sixers and the Celtics in that series. But I'll mention this too. Georges Niang is just not the most satisfying looking player. Okay, he doesn't wear leg sleeves. He doesn't have all these accessories. He's a little overweight for a basketball player, right? And his game is very within the margins. He's not this, oh, he's taking guys off the dribble. Oh, look at his quickness. Oh, look at his powerful scoring. He's most of the time just standing in the corner and can attack whenever there are open lanes or there's a favorable matchup. And Niang is just, from his overall game, whether it's how he looks on the court, actually how he looks within his actual physique, or how he looks playing the game of basketball, he's just not a very satisfying player. I mean, he is the fat minivan. Okay, I understand people call him the minivan, but let's face it, he's a little overweight. He was looking good when he was on the OG show, right? The Mike Miller and Udonis Haslam podcast. He looked pretty good, but in that photo right there, I mean, that photo when it came out at Media Day last year, That's truly atrocious for an NBA player right there. I mean, to be that overweight as an NBA player who's running up and down the basketball floor, I'm glad he's able to do his job. But I mean, imagine if he lost about 20, 25 pounds. He might play a little bit better and people might like him a little bit more. Just saying. And that's the hard reality of the world. And it's the hard reality of the basketball world is when you're not in shape and you're a basketball player, people are going to attack you for it. And that is the story, or at least part of the story, with Georges Niang and why Celtics Nation hates him. He's just not the most satisfying looking player. From an optics standpoint, Niang is not a fan favorite. But, David, you mentioned it. He was starting to inch himself into, oh, maybe this guy, his grit, his personality, maybe we need that a little bit. And all the other optics don't really matter, right? It's the whole Daniel Tice situation. Everybody, oh, who is this clunky white center running up and down the floor who's always fouling? And yet we know in time Daniel Tice was just a consistent center for the Celtics who was able to make himself into a starter over time and even parlayed that into a pretty nice NBA career, which I would guess at this point is sort of up in the air for Daniel Tice. We don't have to go down that rabbit hole, but I don't believe he's on a team right now.
No, well,
why is nobody talking about Daniel Tice as an addition? What are you doing?
I know.
He's not on a team. He's not on a team. Is that who we're getting? Is that who's next? All right, is that who's next? Daniel Tice.
Maybe
everybody screamed about him for the last 3 years, wanting him back ever since 2022, and even before that, he was gone from 21 to 22, and then he's back, and then we'll see. We'll see. But anyway, Griffin, take it over.
But I look at this again, and this is what I have to say. Again, this trade was basically just dumping salary. Ultimately, it's the harsh reality, and we went in depth on kind of, why I don't criticize Niang, but it doesn't matter because he's on another team now. At the end of the day, he's on another team. But you look at that trade, and it was honestly just salary shedding. Really what it was. At the end of the day, that's what it was. But I know Celtics fans now are like, whatever, like that was a mid-trade. But there is some promising news at Patriots training camp. I have to say this. You got the man out there, JT, without a boot. And I have to say, shout out to my boy, John. If you're watching this, he's an intern for the Sea Dogs along with me. But he was actually at training camp yesterday and showed me a picture of JT there. I should have texted him and asked him for the picture. But he told me, and I saw the picture before, but he was like, yeah, JT was at training camp, Griffin. But Seamus, if you want to show the other pictures really quick too.
Yeah, of course, Jason Tatum is making his rounds this summer, and everybody wants to point out, no boot, no boot, no boot. I mean, we saw the transition between the boot and the no boot. One day he was at the Wohl Center over in University City, over in St. Louis. There was a boot on. He had a boot on there. And then the next day he's at his charity golf tournament up at Norwood Hills Country Club in North St. Louis, and no boot. So there's boot one day, there's no boot the next day. Obviously, Jason Tatum. It's been a couple of weeks now. He hasn't been walking around with the boot. So that's been the big story with Tatum at training camp this week, and just with Tatum this summer in general. But here's Jason Tatum and Drake May. How many more championships lie within this photo right here? Okay, Jason Tatum and Drake May. How many more podiums will these guys stand on? That's the first thing I think of when I see a picture like this is Tatum and May. I see some bling in the future with those two. And it's not in the same way we saw it with Mac Jones. All right. This is a little different, folks. This is Drake May. This is not Mac Jones. It's a little diff. But Jason Tatum was just present at training camp in general. Here's him talking with Mike Vrabel and Von Miller, new Patriots coach. Mike Vrabel. I can see him on a podium in the future as well with the Patriots. Let's face it. But this is Tatum dapping up Von Miller and Griffin. I know you have a whole bit on Von Miller's hair here.
No, I had to say before we did this, I was like, what is that haircut? I just had to say.
It's the reverse Ronaldo. That's what I said before the broadcast. It's the reverse Ronaldo. Ronaldo played for Brazil, right? He had that patch in the front, right? Von Miller, the hairline's hiking it a little bit for Von Miller. Okay, he's up there in his 30s, but that patch, he just put it on the back. That's all he did. He put it on the back.
That's crazy.
I'm not I'll tell you right now, that is a training camp haircut. You ever think about or remember the Tim Tebow training camp haircut, the hazing haircut where they shaved off the top of his head and left the sides and just did a bowl cut on the sides, and it looked like one of those haircuts you might see from the Middle Ages where the old guys are balding and they had this weird bowl cut. That's what this haircut right here from Von Miller represents. Is it's that training camp. It's not a hazing haircut because Tim Tebow was a rookie getting that haircut, receiving that haircut. Von Miller, I mean, he's very much a veteran. This is on his own accord. Okay, there are no other veterans forcing Von Miller into this haircut, except for who knows, maybe they play a couple card games on the plane, or I don't know, maybe that led to this haircut. We don't know. However, Tatum with another Washington Commander, a prominent Washington Commander, Jaden Daniels. So Jason Tatum meeting up with Jaden Daniels and Drake May. Here's another photo of Tatum and Daniels. So the stars were very much on display at Patriots training camp this week with Jason Tatum rolling through and meeting the two-star quarterbacks, Jaden Daniels and Drake May, along with Von Miller and Mike Vrabel. I'm sure he talked to a lot of other people too, and met a lot of other guys at Patriots training camp. But those are some of some of the better photos from training camp and Jason Tatum's visitation to the Patriots training camp. And let's note this too: Joe Mazzulla was actually at Patriots training camp last week. So the Celtics very much present at Patriots training camp. I wonder if Brad will make an appearance. I mean, I know he's a little busy nowadays, right? This is his work season, right? It used to be Brad making those appearances, and it used to be Brad and Belichick there, but we don't see that anymore. We see Mazzulla and Vrabel. I'm pretty. I gotta say first, I'm pretty. I'm pretty confident in Mazzulla and Vrabel. Okay, in the past, you see some coaches like I don't know, but Mazzulla and Vrabel, that feels like a championship combo right there. But go ahead, David.
And it must have been Missoula's aura, or Missoula must have been jealous of the fact that he was not there yesterday, because I don't know if you guys heard, but a huge fight broke out at the Patriots Commanders training camp yesterday. And Mike Vrabel, the coach himself, ended up in the middle, and he actually started bleeding. And allegedly, this is a rumor, but allegedly when he came out of the pile, he screamed, "Football is back." And Joe Mazzulla, I know, is so mad that he was not there for that.
I know Joe Mazzulla would have hopped right down in there. You know Joe Mazzulla, he would have been like, "Oh, fight time, all right, let's go." Even though he has nothing to do with it, he would have hopped right in. I love that.
The other angle too is Joe Mazzulla. I remember this happening, but it's been 2.5 years since it happened. At the end of the regular season in 2023. Joe Mazzulla and Chris Boucher, when Boucher was on the Raptors, bumped into each other right before a timeout. And Mazzulla started to charge after Boucher, and Rob Williams had to hold him back. So I wonder if there's any beef there, or they're going to try and fight it out right when Boucher shows up to the Arbach Center in Brighton. So, we'll have to see about that. I mean, we may not get too many W's this year across the Patriots and Celtics, but we're going to win it with our fists.
Seamus, can you try to find a picture of that, and then we could have that in at the end?
The Boucher and Mazzulla interaction?
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I'm trying to remember another incident that this is related to from last season, because I remember going on a whole spiel post game about how Mazzulla and some of the I don't remember what it was from. Oh, it was I know what it was from. Mazzulla wasn't awarded a timeout. This was a random game. I cannot remember who it was against. It was in January, February range this past season. He wasn't awarded a timeout, right? And the whole play goes about, and then he's mad that he isn't awarded a timeout in that moment. The refs didn't see it, blah, blah, blah. And then the next timeout he calls, he lunges towards the referee and is just screaming in their face, "Timeout, timeout, timeout." Just literally, I mean, this was the most excessive time. Like we've seen coaches before go out into almost the middle of the floor and try to call a timeout. This was right in the referee's face. It was on the baseline, and then it was the third referee on the baseline, and he's just running over there screaming, "Timeout, timeout." The minute it was awarded, just boom, blank, back to the huddle. And I was going, what these, like, why was that totally necessary? Joe Mazzulla, with the Chris Boucher thing, the reason this relates, right? I didn't think in that video, right, that I didn't think Boucher when he brushed up against Mazzulla really meant any harm from it, because playing basketball, you have a guy, especially if you're on one end of the court, you have guys crossing paths to go to each other's benches, and guys come off the bench, and sometimes you run into guys, or sometimes you kind of shuffle past the guy. Thought that's what went on with Boucher and Missoula. He's walking to his bench, and he kind of brushed up against him, and then Missoula, he's all of a sudden wanting to pick a fight with Boucher, and I'm going, why? Sometimes I think I'm on the other end of this. I love Joe Mazzulla's fire. I love his competitiveness. But sometimes I feel like there are moments where I'm going, is it really needed right now? Like, can we just get the timeout? Can we just go back to the bench? Like, why are we trying to start a fight from nothing right here? The same thing with the ref. Like, oh, they missed a timeout, so therefore you're going to make the most ridiculous scene. Now, this take comes from the moment of the season, right? The January, February moment, really the January moment of the season, where the Celtics weren't doing well and everything was just on high. Like, everything was nitpicked with the Celtics, where every little interaction was like, what are we doing here? We're trying to win, blah, blah, blah. But I got to say, Missoula, sometimes the antics with Missoula, not always a fan of, but I love the fire. All right. I love the fire. Sometimes I think it's a little overboard, but I'd rather a little overboard than nothing at all. I don't want a Gerard Mayo. All right. We don't want a Gerard Mayo. We don't want any of that around Boston. All right. But that's why we'll take a little bit of the overboard antics and interact. I should call them reactions, right? They're not really antics; they're reactions at the end of the day. But I'll get that Boucher photo for you, Griffin, before we end this.
We'll put it in at the end. But David, do you have any final takes on that before we go to our last segment?
No, I mean, I just think I believe that game, Seamus, you were talking about with Missoula was, if I remember correctly, the Clippers overtime game, because I vividly remember that, and that was during that January, February stretch where we were just dying for wins. So I do remember seeing that on the feed as well. But love the fire, it's just great to see. I know this isn't Patriots talk, but it's great to see the Patriots, as you alluded to, Seamus, play with a little bit of fire, and hopefully we can get you in football this year, Griffin.
I got to. Maybe if Missoula becomes the assistant coach for the Patriots, maybe that's what he needs. But that's going to bring us into the segment that you guys are all waiting for. I hope you guys are, at least, because we didn't do it last week, but the tier list for the city jerseys for the Boston Celtics. So I'm going to show all of our rankings for them really quick. And I wish we had Andrew on here, because that would have been the debate. However, after I show these, we're going to come together and make a tier list. So S tier being top tier list, like top best jersey, like boom, nothing better. D meaning it's terrible, it's awful, whatever. So we're starting off right here with David's tier list of the city jerseys. Love this one. We won't talk about these. We're going to just talk about it once we go into making our city edition jerseys. Then you have right here, looks like Daniel's city jerseys. No S tier. We have a lot of A tier, though. And then right here, we have my city edition jerseys. Those is where I rank mine. And then we have Seamus's, which we have a pretty steady pace going on here. I love to see that, Seamus. And then lastly, we have Andrew's, which I think he would have been perfect to have on here, because you see there's a lot of C tiers, there's a D tier. And before we explained about the Bill Russell concept jersey, that was also a B tier. So Andrew would have been a fun one to have on here. However, we are going to go on this and we are going to make the tier list. So I'm going to do this behind the scenes, and then at the end, we will flash the graphic for you guys. Maybe even post it, who knows, on Instagram or something. But you guys ready for this? So obviously S tier being the best, nothing beats it. A tier meaning it's great, but it's not the best. And then you have B tier. It's good. It's a good jersey, but it's good. Like just like in a class, you're gonna get an A, but S meaning the best. And then you guys are familiar with tier list. Come on. C meaning it's it's all right. And then D tier meaning it's terrible. It's awful. But with that being said, who's ready for the tier list? All right, so I'm going to flash the jersey, and we're going to go around, and we're going to say it. So we're starting off with obviously, I can't think of it, the gray parquet City Edition jersey. What year was this, Seamus? Do you know by any chance?
The Celtics wore this during the 2017-18 season.
Okay.
And
right.
didn't wear it too many times. Okay, so this is back when the City jerseys were new and pretty primitive, as in they weren't necessarily an official, like nowadays we have all the City jerseys basically they're about to drop in August or September, and we know all of the word marks, we know some of the colors, we know some of the alternatives. This was back when the City jerseys, there wasn't a massive release. If I'm not, I don't believe every team had a City jersey. I might be wrong on that. This was the first year of Nike taking over the jersey manufacturing for the NBA and the distribution of jerseys for the NBA. But those right there, 17, 18, gray parquet. What's weird about them is they were advertised as gray parquet jerseys. They're supposed to be
And you
parquet. They're supposed to be parquet. This is actually a perfect example here. They're supposed to be a parquet. What would you call it? A texture, right? Parquet texture on the jersey.
You can see it, but you really have
you really,
to
no, not on this. Not really, not that much. That's the thing is there's supposed to be parquet texture on the jersey. You couldn't see it at all on court. It was much more evident when they like that picture right there. You can't see it at all, and that's probably more what the reality of the situation was. Is they tried to show it, and it just didn't show on the jersey when it was actually printed and displayed on court. But all the advertising for the jersey clearly displayed that parquet, and when the jersey came out, there was no parquet. So that was a little odd at the time. I will say a little history there, but that 17-18 jersey, there's bad memories in those jerseys. I don't know if anybody remembers Paul Pierce's jersey retirement night. The Celtics played the Cavs that afternoon in those jerseys. And the Cavs, the new look Cavs, that was, if anybody remembers, at the 2018 deadline, the Cavs flipped around half of their rotation. And yep, Jordan Clarkson. We got Jordan Clarkson, LeBron doing the ice in the veins celebration. You had Larry Nance dunking all over the Celtics that game randomly. And the Cavs were just playing with a different energy. They were just playing with a different energy with a new team. And they whooped the Celtics that night. And the Celtics wore those jerseys. And I remember Kyrie, he wore some yellow shoes. And they were supposed to be like the fry basket shoes or what. I forgot exactly what they were called. But bad memories, okay? I love the Paul Pierce jersey retirement was amazing, okay? Great moment. But the game before that jersey retirement, against the Cavs in those jerseys, that'll be the lasting memory of those jerseys, unfortunately.
So where do you rank it?
Pull up my tier list.
I'm saying like this is what I like. We have to come together. All right, we will go with Seamus's. He ranked it a C tier. All right, and then David, you ranked that one a B tier, and then I as well ranked it a B tier. I think it deserves a B tier. Do you guys agree? Seamus, can we at least?
Of course I agree.
No, but like,
what are we doing? What are we doing on this segment? So we're supposed to make. So we're supposed to make a collective.
Yeah, we have to negotiate and do it together. And David and I both have it. Would you consider putting it to the B tier? Would that be fine?
Pull up my tier list again. Well, every jersey is in relevancy. All right. So every jersey is in relevancy. You could make an argument. See, this is where I'm going. Is the gray jersey better than the white jersey next to it there on that C tier?
Yes, it is.
The 2018-19 City Edition. Is it better than that City Edition? Because here's what I think we should do. I would move the gray up a tier for you guys to leave it at the average. I mean, that's basically the average tier. But I think that other jersey has to stay in that tier.
I agree. I will do that. What about you, David? Will you? All right, hold on. We'll pull this one up.
We're making negotiations on this list.
This next jersey, what year was this then? 18-19, right?
Yeah, this was the next season.
18-19. All right. So I agree with that. If we put this jersey B tier, I agree that deserves C tier. And I think I might have had it at C tier. Yeah, I had it at C tier anyways. But let's go look what. Oh, wow. David, you had it at A tier. You're willing to go all the way down to C?
Probably. I had a.
See, this is where this is so subjective, and why are we trying to make a huge list with all of us? Because we're never going to quite like David has this jersey in A tier. I go, this cannot make its way out of D tier.
No,
it's like, how are we gonna? No, this is exact. You know what, Griffin? I don't know if you can pull. No, you probably can't make them on the fly, but if you pull up a tier list randomly, I'll tell you exactly how this should go. Pull up any tier list.
Can we put this in like the hands of the fans? Like, do you think we can make? Like,
yes.
Yeah, no, have the fans
bring up the tier list though. Bring up the tier. Oh, okay. Well,
I have it right here. So I'm making.
No, you have it perfect. Move that C up one. Okay, wait. I'm gonna pull up a tier list. Okay, I'm gonna pull up. I don't know whose tier list this is. This is whose tier list is this?
That is Andrews.
Okay, we'll use Andrews as an example. I think what we should do for our tier list is, okay, the B jerseys are fine. We can move the 22-23 A tier jersey down to B. And then we can move the C jerseys also up to B, all four of them. And that D jersey we'll just leave right there. So every jersey in B, action green and D. That's what I have. That would be my compromise. Everything is average. You have to all the jerseys are down here. You have all of them up here.
All right, no.
I have them over here. It's like average is really every single jersey's in B. Every single jersey.
You have to,
or rather in C or whatever it was.
Together. We have to come together and negotiate one. This is the fun in it. This is the fun in it. So, and I would love the fans to make one at home. Like, tell me what your tier list is. I would love to see it. But, all right, we're going B with the 17 one. 18, 19, we're going C. What's next on these ones right here? All right.
That was tier.
I do love these ones. And we'll start off with David. You had them at S tier. I have them at A tier. And then, wow, Seamus had them at B tier. So what can we go with this?
A.
I think A, yeah.
I'm at S. Seamus is at B. You're an A. That's in the middle.
You guys want to go with A tier for those jerseys?
So what do we have so far? We got. Let's see. No, pull it back up. What do we have so far?
This one?
No, well, okay, but so
yeah,
we need a blank tier list. I feel like we need a. Well. What do we have so far? So where is each jersey? So is gray? Hold up. Let's go to a random tier list. So is gray? Gray. This is my tier list. So is gray in the B?
Gray is in the B right now. This one,
gray is in the B.
This one is in. We'll pull yours back up. This one is in C, and this one right here is an A.
Okay, that's interesting. Where would you? Okay, yeah, keep going. I guess keep going with.
You agree? You guys fine to go with A for that one though? Are we in a negotiation to go with A?
I'm fine. I'm fine with that jersey because that jersey. I just feel like the execution with the colors just a bit off. I'm not always a fan of the jerseys that. Okay, thin text. Okay, that's how this can be explained. Thin text. I'm not always a fan of thin text on jerseys. I like to see that bold text. I like to see. Okay, I like to see what's on the jersey. It's a little thin. The numbers were always a little thin. You couldn't always see them that well. That's what my point was.
I agree. I liked it though, and the thing that really did it for me was on like, what's it called? Like, where the shoulders are and stuff. That trim. It had like a cool design, which I liked on those. But our next one, and this one's going to be controversial, is the banner jersey. Where are we?
Definitely going to be controversial
because I have this. Well, David has this at D tier. I have this at C tier, and we have Seamus at B tier. you like these jerseys. Where I think the compromise is at C. Wait, where do you have it, Seamus? Yeah, it's at C tier for us. Then I guess we have to go C tier. But
Where you guys have it at D?
I have it at D.
David has it at D. Why do you have it at D? What's our verdict? Why is it at D?
I mean, it just, for me personally, it just looked a little too basic. And like, I kind of, after I made that ranking, didn't realize the draw to it, which is obviously to make it look like a banner, but like still, it's just a little bit too basic to me. It doesn't have much flair. A basic white jersey. Me personally.
All right.
Well, yeah, what I didn't fully appreciate about that jersey is what you're saying right now, David, is that year I felt like, now let's actually disclaim this for all the viewers. These City Edition jerseys this season for the entire league, the 2021 season, were a bit lazy. All right, we're a bit lazy from a design perspective because that was the year after COVID. So the distribution of all the jerseys, the manufacturing of all the jerseys, when all these factories are shut down across the world because of COVID, well, the NBA couldn't necessarily push forth more new manufacturing and new jersey designs because I mean there just wasn't the manufacturing space. There wasn't the distribution. I mean, you think about everything that happened during COVID, the manufacturing and distribution of everything was disrupted. And in 2021, that's why I theorize we saw a lot of the same I should say we saw a lot of the same jersey concepts from teams, but they were different colors. Okay, a perfect example of this is the earned edition for the Celtics, right? It was basically just the Celtics jersey, but different colors. I mean, I remember Portland. Portland had their same exact jersey as they would wear on a normal basis, but it was just like all the color was taken out. I shouldn't even say it was colored gray and black. It was a gray and black jersey, but they basically took their normal Trailblazers jersey and just took all the color out of it, stripped all the color away, and that was the jersey. That was the alternative jersey. I mean, that year, fairly lazy for City Edition jerseys, and I believe it was because of the manufacturing and distribution of the jerseys worldwide due to COVID. I mean, it was more of the instead of making new jerseys, right, and putting together all these new designs, they were taking old designs that they had already made or manufactured, stripped away the color, and just went ahead and essentially put forth those jerseys. Now that's why I believe the banner jersey is a little. I thought it was a little lazy, but
I like the
I
idea.
like the let's step out of the box and try something here, and it wasn't drastically ugly. Okay, like
No, it
it
wasn't.
was a white, like it looked good on court. I mean, it looked
It
good,
did.
and
It
and
did.
I kind of appreciate the just I don't want to say plainness of it because I understand the concept. I mean, I literally look up at this thing. I'm like, that's the jersey basically right up here.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a jersey that, like, to me, you could make an argument the City Edition jersey the year before, it goes a little too far off the branding of the Celtics, where we've never seen. Let me pull it back up here. We've never really seen anything in Celtic Nation branded in this way. We've never seen that thin text, that that leprechaun text, that Irish text, right? That Celtic text, right? We've never seen that really when it comes to the advertising or design of the Celtics. Whereas this jersey right here, we see this color all the time. We see sometimes that font displayed throughout the arena or different promotional avenues for the Celtics. We see this. We see this brand. And when it was on court, it looked like the Celtics brand. Whereas this one, you could mistake it for a team in Europe. If we're really being honest, this jersey right here, if you didn't know it was the Celtics and they're playing a road game, you could definitely mistake the Celtics for another team out there. This jersey, on the other hand, I felt as if the Celtics actually looked like the Boston Celtics. And I think that's what should be considered important with some of the City Edition jerseys and just alternative jerseys is how much how how much of the jersey, right? Does the jersey actually connect with the brand? How much does the jersey connect with the brand? Because there are a lot of jerseys out there, alternative jerseys rather, that just don't quite connect with the team's brand. It's just, I mean, I look at the Blazers, for example, right? And they roll out the jerseys where they're teal and black, and I'm going, that just, and that says PDX on the front, and I understand the connection. I understand some of the team's connections with the abbreviations and the colors, where they go, oh, this color represents this in the city, and that's how it connects, blah blah blah. But it might connect to the city, yet it doesn't connect to the actual brand of the team. You could say this about the Red Sox. Now, I like the City Connect jerseys for the Red Sox. Don't get me wrong. I like the blue and the yellow, and then the new monster jerseys, the green ones. I like those uniforms. Don't get me wrong, but those are jerseys that don't quite connect to the brand. And I would say those City Connect jerseys, the Red Sox green monster jerseys, that's almost relatable to the banner jerseys a little bit there. So there's a little bit of a relation there. But those jerseys, right, specifically the yellow and the blue ones, they don't really connect fully to the
It's with
brand of the Red
Boston.
Sox.
Yeah.
And it's more of a Boston thing. Now, that's what I understand. City edition, right? City edition. They want to connect it to the city in some way. But some of the city editions and just alternatives in general, they don't connect to the team's brand, specifically with the colors or the font or the abbreviations or what's said on the jerseys. That banner jersey I thought connected a little bit better with the Celtics brand than the city editions from the year before with the Irish text.
Totally. But that brings us to our next jersey. Because we rated that one, we went C with it. That's the compromise. These ones, these are beautiful jerseys. I gotta say, the bubble text, weird. Oh wow, David, you had them at B. I had these at S, and Seamus had them at S. So I feel like we either gotta go S or A. What is your?
We'll
What
go.
is your?
I can compromise with A.
All right, you agree? We'll go A with this one, Seamus.
Okay, this is just a top tier uniform for me. I just
I agree.
every
I love it.
I can't I just this jersey will always bring great memories. I will think of diamonds for the 75th anniversary of the NBA that season. I will think of the Celtics finals run. I will think of the Celtics completely turning their season around and just fun game after fun game after fun game. It felt like at the end of that 21-22 season, the Celtics just could not lose. And it felt like every single time the Celtics played, something incredible was happening. I mean, literally every single time. You and Marcus Smart won the Defensive Player of the Year that year. Robert Williams was an All Defensive Player in his own right. You had Brown and Tatum, both All NBA players, or at least close to All NBA. I mean, they were they were close to All NBA players that year. At least Tatum was.
Mhm.
But that team, and that team made the finals. He made Doka. We all know the story. Derek White, the Celtics trade for Derek White halfway through that season. So those jerseys, I mean, there are a lot of, aside from just looking great, there are a lot of good memories connected to those jerseys. That's the thing about all these City Edition jerseys. There will be definitive on-court memories connected to every single one of them. I'm sure we'll get into one of the City Edition jerseys later on in time, but the championship season, I'll always remember, oh, undefeated at home with that jersey, or not undefeated with that jersey, because I know we've tracked the records with jerseys in the past. We were having a problem with the Action Greens last year. We couldn't win in them at all until we finally won a game in Philly after coming back down from 26 points. But ultimately, the City Edition jerseys, all of them, they're there are memories connected with them, and then we'll get into all those memories with the later jerseys. I was going to bring them up, but we'll dive into them
have
in
a
a
whole
second.
podcast about it, or we'll go more in depth with it. We'll even talk about these more. But the next jersey, we have these beautiful ones, the Bill Russell inspired jerseys right here. David, you have these at S tier. I have these at S tier. I love this jersey. And Seamus, you have these at A tier. So I feel it's only fair if we're going A tier with the last one, we have to go A tier with these jerseys. Fair. Let's go to that.
Look, the problem with
I
these
love these
jerseys, the
ones.
only problem I had with these jerseys is
It's a different green.
when I talked about connection to the brand, those jerseys I absolutely love, but they just didn't really look good on the parquet floor. They just didn't.
I love
They
them.
really didn't.
Those were one of my favorites,
I
right? I have
I
to say.
think they and this is just where I see some jerseys, like, we don't have home and away jerseys anymore, but I see some jerseys as more away jerseys, right? I mean, naturally the thought is white home, dark away, right? That's usually what it is in basketball. Nowadays, it's all over the place. Well, I mean, like game 5 of the finals, the Celtics clinched the finals on their home floor with their green jerseys, which was amazingly aesthetic. I did not want the Celtics to win in their statement jerseys or their any alternative jersey. Let the green or the white play out, right? When we're winning the championship. But that's an example right there of the Celtics and every team not it's icon and association. There are no more home and away jerseys anymore. But I will say that 22-23 City Edition jersey right there, the Bill Russell the restaurant that he owned. I forgot what the restaurant's name is. We'd give it a shout out here, but that's what that jersey is inspired off of. I thought it looked way better on the road than it did at home. At home, it just didn't.
Beautiful.
The green on the parquet, the that's the thing. The green on the parquet, it matches well with the white jerseys. It matches well with the green jerseys, and everything pops when the Celtics are wearing those two jerseys. And even the black looks okay on the home floor because it's just an alternative. It adds another color. But those forest green essentially, right? That green's essentially forest green. It's not Kelly green, right? It's not Celtic green. It's forest green. It's almost the Milwaukee Buck green. That forest green jersey just didn't look good on the parquet floor. But if I can conjure up one memory of that jersey, I thought one of the more aesthetically pleasing games when it came to the optics of what the game looked like, jersey, court, everything, and even the outcome in the end. Celtics versus Sixers in Philadelphia when Jason Tatum essentially makes the game-winning shot, and then Embiid at the end of the game just chucks. I'll always remember that as Joel Embiid chucks a shot down the floor with no seconds remaining, cans it. The Philadelphia crowd thinks they win the game for a second, then it's like, oh no, you didn't. No, 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 you couldn't escape the
Love it.
Celtics here. Couldn't escape the Celtics. I gotta say, I next year, I'm really hoping the Sixers are at least somewhat competitive and in the same range as the Celtics, so that we can get some classic. Oh, we just beat Philly like that. Oh, we just because we were missing that last season. Every game with Philly wasn't
No, we weren't.
exactly that competitive. Maybe Christmas, but outside of that, it weren't exactly competitive. But that jersey right there, that 22-23 jersey, I'll always remember that Philadelphia game. Philly was wearing all white jerseys. They were wearing the City of Brotherly Love jerseys, and they had an alternative court. They had the old Spectrum court right that night, if I'm not mistaken. And the Celtics wore those Bill Russell jerseys, and that was just an aesthetically pleasing Celtics versus Sixers matchup. And I got to say, in the past, we've seen some pretty rough jersey matchups between the Celtics and Sixers at times. This past season specifically, when we talked about the action green, we'll get to that, but that 22-23 jersey, again with the memories, forever immortalized within that moment. But I will think with those jerseys, Malcolm Brogdon, last year Smart, last year Robert Williams, first year Missoula, didn't quite get over the hump. I'll also connect those memories with that jersey as well.
No, totally. Well, we have two more jerseys. We'll wrap it up really quick. This one, obviously, you already mentioned, Seamus. These ones were the championship ones. Beautiful jerseys. David, you had these ranked at S tier. I had these ranked at A tier. And Seamus, you had these at A tier. I think it's only fair to go A with these ones. Beautiful memories, and I love the jerseys. You guys agree? Can that go A tier? You guys agree with that?
That's fine. Sure.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
allow it.
We gotta ask David because those ones obviously. But one final jersey, and this one's gonna strike some controversy. I feel like, a lot of people. Seamus, I know a lot. There's been a lot of talk on this. So
There is an entire clip
yeah,
from back in December. I remember watching the Bengals versus Cowboys game, making the clip and making the thumbnail for the clip. I'm sorry, the action green jerseys. Everybody go watch the clip because I already spieled on it for
yeah.
8 minutes back in December. So unbelievably lazy, so uninspiring, and 100%
Just
set
check
the
this out.
precedent of this Celtics season, the 24-25 Celtics season. I'll forever look at that jersey. The one game I'll remember another Philly game. The one game I'll remember, actually two games. I'll bring up two games. The first game is actually against the Raptors when Tatum made that game winner against the Raptors. That'll be memory number one. But memory number two will be coming back down from 26 points against Philadelphia in Philly when the Celtics, that was their turning point in the season, right? Where they turned from a 500 team to a dominant team once again before eventually floundering in the playoffs, as we all know. But that Philadelphia game, Philly, bunch of guys out that night, as Philly all year with them. They were there. They were the 13th seed. A bunch of guys out that night. Ricky Council was one of the Sixers' best players. Maxey destroyed the Celtics in the first half, and the Celtics, they looked lethargic once again in a stretch where that was the norm. Oh, Celtics, they didn't come out with their best tonight, blah, blah, blah. We all know this. That game, the Celtics turn it up late in the third quarter. They come back down from 26 points down. They win the game, and that's sort of the turning point of the season. But outside of those two great memories, coming back against Philadelphia, a bad Philadelphia team, that's kind of a game where I go, oh, we came back, but that team was terrible. We should have never been down 26 points. The Tatum game winner against the Raptors, outside of those two memories, I will think of these jerseys in just I'm sorry. There are not. I will not have great memories. I will have the memory of, yeah, we rolled out some truly horrific, lazy looking jerseys because I mean, sorry, the Celtics are one of the most esteemed franchises in all of sports. How could you possibly let a jersey
And
like that hit
and
the market? Hit the
and look at
market.
this. They just copied the year before because look at the sides.
They
Like
really didn't.
that's all
No,
you
I
get.
would have been happy if they
Yeah.
copied the year before.
No,
This
but
is
and this is like the sides. That's what I was saying. But
Oh no, you're right. No, you're right. And they tried to pass it off as, ooh, that's a peach basket design. Are you kidding me? Are you actually kidding me? If you look at let pull that back up, Greg. Let's pull these jerseys back up. You're telling me that that dark green pattern in which you can't even see on the side of the jersey, in which is the same color as the trim at the top, right? With the arm sleeves and the head sleeve. Those are dark green. There's another dark green woven peach basket. I'm reluctant to even call it that, but there's another woven little dark green line. So you're telling me that dark green line on the side of the jersey, right? That stripe, that bent stripe, along with the lime green bent stripe is supposed to emulate a peach basket.
no,
And
I don't.
Griffin, like you mentioned, the year before, they copied the year before. Yep, there it is. They 100% copied the year before. Just a completely lazy jersey at the end of the day. The font is lazy, the coloring is lazy, the design is lazy. We've had a million great, I mean, look at the Valley Suns, right? Look how creative that jersey is and look how much it pops. And they're bringing it back. The NBA is actually bringing it back with all their remixes. Another lazy jersey bit of news there. The NBA just remixing old jerseys for city next year. I hate to say it, everybody, but the city jerseys next year, nobody's seeing anything new.
No.
Nobody's seen it. Everything's remixed and old, unfortunately. But those jerseys, so unbelievably lazy, and it set the precedent for the Celtics not going back to back, not getting over the hump, right? I think the aesthetics have to be there for your championship season sometimes. And that jersey was just like what I'll remember that jersey as, oh, look, the 24-25 Celtics who went 500, and yeah, there were some good memories in those jerseys, but otherwise, I mean, we all know just from a gameplay perspective, forget the jerseys, 24-25 was not as aesthetically pleasing as 23-24, and those jerseys somewhat symbolized not only the jersey aesthetic, right? Not only gave out that side of things, but that action green jersey also symbolized the play on court. How it just wasn't as aesthetically pleasing, wasn't as great as the year prior.
Yeah. Well, where did all right? We have David at C. We
I
have
would put this. I'm sorry,
D.
I can't negotiate with you guys. I'm putting this at D. I'm this is I will not allow it to go anywhere. That
David, what do
jersey,
we do?
we are the Boston but let's face it, we've paid money to the team, right? We are part of why Jason Tatum makes $70 million because we have a bunch of stuff on our walls back. I mean, you look at that wall back there, Griffin. I mean, you've paid some money to the Celtics. I mean, we are somewhat of a part of
I have
the team of
where's
funders for
so
the
that's
Celtics
why
organization. So
I
let's
don't
just
think
say
I can go
we
D
are
though.
the
Because I have
Celtics.
two of them.
The Celtics, I'm sorry, they own one of the best aesthetics in sports. They have some of the best all of the items in which you could use to make a great jersey, a great design. All the colors, all of the different items, the different textures or fonts. The Celtics should just be rolling out some of the best alternative jerseys year after year. To roll out that alternative jersey is just a complete and utter
You know what?
travesty. And I'm not even going to go down the path and saying, oh, the lime green and the color. They could have executed that color, right? The dark color. This is what I also don't understand. We have a black statement jersey, a black city edition jersey. Why do we need two black jerseys? I guess you have to make any jersey. You could say that with any jersey. Oh, two white jerseys, two green jerseys. I understand. But the action green jersey, they could have executed it a lot better or a lot differently than my thing is. It's just the font on this jersey. Let me bring it back up. The font on this jersey is extremely lazy. It looks like the font I used for final score graphics in 1718. And I look back at those final score graphics and that font that I specifically used, and I kind of cringe at it. I go, oh, maybe I should have used a different font. Well, the Celtics in 2025, rather in 2024, decide to roll out this jersey with this font on the front. With this, and not only that, it's the color and the font. I mean, what are we doing? And again, the color, I think they could have still stuck with this color concept and maybe, just maybe, executed the jersey just a little bit differently, added a little bit more pizzazz. This is just a boring jersey. I mean, the Celtics font, the way they explained it to, again, everybody go watch that 8-minute, 12-minute video back in December where I mean, it was on a post game. We went in on it. That font right there, the way the Celtics explained it, right? Because every time there's a new jersey released, teams explain exactly what the jersey is about. The peach basket and the action green font. It was supposed to be the action green and the font and all of that, right? It was supposed to be the Celtics are looking ahead at the future. They're looking ahead at the future. What is futuristic about that font
I
and
know.
that coloring?
I,
I didn't know how terrible things would look in the future. Is that what's supposed? Is that were they preparing us for the Niang trade and then the Niang trade away? Is that what they were doing with those? That is exact
I guess
futuristic. If the future looks anything like those jerseys, I
I'm
mean,
scared. I'm
bring
scared.
the
I'm scared.
nostalgia. Keep it in the past. Keeping
I'm
my mind and the nostalgia of my mind in the past. If that's what is in store for the future, and then you have the explanation of the peach basket nonsense on the side. That's absolutely ridiculous. Oh, peach basket. A peach basket. If you really wanted to put it on the side, I mean, to me, I see like the weave, right? I would take that weave and I would go and I would add a million more weaves to it, right? Because if you look at a peach basket, not just one. So we like it's taking. I'm trying to explain this in the best way possible, without any visualization.
No, I
But
get it.
but
It's several weaves.
well, no, that's what I'm saying is, say you're looking at a peach basket. That's like one. If you look at the jersey, it's first of all, that's not even emulating a peach basket. They're bullshitting us on that one. I'm just saying, okay? They're just saying something for advertising purposes, promotion purposes, right? Say something about it. Oh, it's a peach basket, whatever. It's really not. But a peach basket, if you were to look at it, it's literally taking like an inch of the peach basket. It's like, why not take out the whole picture of it and do the whole thing, right? Instead, they're doing this one weave, right? One little weave through the peach basket. That's what I can't. That's what I can't get down
No,
with
yeah.
whatsoever with those
Well,
jerseys. And it's really the laziness. It's the money that goes into these jerseys and the money that these jerseys cost and the revenue these teams make and the league makes from these jerseys. To throw out that lazy of a design is just a slap in the face to fans, quite honestly. And
oh, it looks like we lost Seamus, but he did not like that jersey to say the least. But I'm gonna pull up this while we're waiting for Seamus to come back. But David, do you agree? Can we put it at D then? Because I don't think it's better than those jerseys. I guess. Would you say so, David?
That's fine. That's fine with me. We can move it down to D because I mean C and D are kind of interchangeable in the sense that like they're bottom tier jerseys. We think
Yeah,
so.
and it's not better than those jerseys, and it's not as good as them. But I don't mind the jersey. Like that's why for mine I put it at C, and I believe you had it at C.
Right.
But I will. Oh, as we are joined back by Seamus, but I will agree, Seamus, and I'll give it to you. We'll have it at D because it's not as good as those jerseys, and I agree. But this is what we came up with our tier list. This was our
No
tier.
S tiers.
No
No
S tier.
S tiers.
I know we could not come in agreement with a S tier, but we have a lot of A tiers. We have a B tier, some C tiers, and a D tier. So that is our tier list right there. And we will make more tier lists in the dog days of August, as we like to call it. But we had a little news today. We had a little bit. But anything else before we close it?
Well, we do have these Chris Boucher photos, which
Yeah.
loading them in right now, and hopefully they load in the correct
Oh.
order, or else we're gonna. They are not. Well, we'll get them. We'll get them to everybody here in a second, as Streamyard loads. But this is the Chris Boucher moment between him and Joe Mazzulla. These might not be in order, so bear with us here, folks. So, yeah, these are not in order. So let's see what we got here. We got let's get this all rearranged correctly. Man, these are not in order. We got okay, here we go. Stick with us, folks. Those were not in order. You just saw a bunch of random stuff pop up on the screen, but hey, let's get to it. Okay, so here we go. We see how this is set up. Joe Mazzulla, timeout, Grant Williams coming over. This is what I'm talking about, how players are just they're dissecting each other, right? And you have everybody coming out on court. Well, so you have Joe Mazzulla going to dap up Robert Williams, right? And then all of a sudden, Chris Boucher comes behind Joe Mazzulla and just kind of brushes up against him. I will say during the video, I watched the video, there's a little bit of a bump from Chris Boucher, a little, like when you look at an offensive player and his arm is extended, right? The offensive foul, as long as your arm isn't extended, if you push off without your arm extended, the ref likely won't call that. But if your arm's extended, the ref will call that. This was almost one of those situations where I'm going, I might have bumped him, but was there a little extension of the arm? Okay, can't really see it in this photo, but if you were to roll this, right, if we had the real clips for this, there is a little bit of an arm extension by Boucher. Okay, so there is a little bit of a bump there, I will say. And then all of a sudden, Boucher walks off. Mazzulla does not turn back with his team. See, high fives Jaylen Brown, high fives Robert Williams. Doesn't turn back towards his team and is all of a sudden looking straight at Chris Boucher and Robert Williams. He needs to come in and stop this because Joe Mazzulla is saying his 2 cents and at this point yelling at Chris Boucher and potentially wanting to pick a fight, a head coach and a player. We've seen that happen. And if I'm not mistaken, right in front of this, right? Look at the 2 people, okay? Look at the 2 people. How do I describe this? So there's the woman in the front row. There's the woman in the green jacket, okay? The 2 people next to the woman in the green jacket on the far right of the screen, courtside. That would be Wyc Grousbeck and his wife. And if anybody doesn't know who Wyc Grousbeck is, he is the owner of the Boston Celtics. Okay, so you have the owner of the Boston Celtics, or rather the former owner. He just sold the team for $6.1 billion to Bill Chisholm. But Wyc Grousbeck right here, he just watched this whole thing happen. I mean, he's sitting right there on the sideline next to that lady in the green jacket there, and he's watching this whole thing go about. So you had Joe Mazzulla in his rookie season do this right next to the Celtics owner and Wyc Grousbeck there. And Joe Mazzulla, I mean, that's part of why Celtic Nation and Celtics organization loves Joe Mazzulla. He's got that fire, and he really doesn't care who sees that fire at the end of the day.
Yeah. Well, and I tell you what, now that's our teammate right there. Chris Boucher, welcome to Beantown. That's what we gotta say. So as David mentioned earlier, hopefully they can fix their, beef now and come to a conclusion and be one, I guess. But essentially you got cheaper again. That's what we went over. And I hope you guys love the jerseys, the jersey tier list. And if you guys have any suggestions and want us to do anything, as we are in as Seamus likes to call it, as we've been calling it, the dog days of August, as we're
This
in
is the
these
real summer for the NBA community.
So
I hate
we'll
to
do
say
fun
it, but
stuff.
every content creator out there in the NBA community, this is the real summer, right? August, September, there's not really much going on. I mean, this is the real everybody, all the content creators if you want to enjoy your time, the time is now, because we're talking about jerseys. We're talking about Tatum showing up at training camp. There's not a lot of basketball to talk about right now.
So, any suggestions, let us know. And again, you guys, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe and turn on post notifications to be notified every time we upload. Again, it's going to be hectic all off season with content. So again, any breaking news, again, we talked about Anthony Simons potentially maybe sometime. So make sure to subscribe and turn on those post notifications to be notified every time we upload. So make sure to subscribe, and we will see you guys with the next one. Peace, guys.